this is Miss Mary from the library, here to start this month's Mid-Kid Maker video. Our theme for this month is Mix It Up. So our first activity we are going to be doing is our Skittles Experiment, which can be found on the front side of our instruction sheet right here. So for this activity, there are only 3 things you're going to need. The first is a white plate or shallow white dish. You do want to make sure your dish or plate is white so that you'll be able to see the mixing part of this activity. You'll also need a mug of hot water. Now this water needs to be pretty close to boiling before you can start, so if you don't feel comfortable boiling water on your own or doing that sort of thing by yourself, you can definitely ask a grown-up for help. And the last thing we are going to need is some Skittles. Now I already poured some out for this activity. I just have some in the cup right here. Our first step then is going to be to take our Skittles and we are going to place them around the edge of the plate. You can make them in a pattern or a design, or if you want to just do wedges of different colors, you can definitely do that. All right, for our step 2, we are going to be adding our hot water to the plate. So this is a step where if you don't feel comfortable again, you can definitely get your grown-up to help you. Now, since I have my water in kind of a really big mug, it makes it a little difficult to pour. So I've added a funnel I went and grabbed that I'm gonna use to pour the water in. Now you wanna pour your water so it just covers all of the Skittles. And see, I'm still making a mess here. So it just covers the Skittles on your plate. Oh. We're gonna take out that little surprise in the plate. And now we wait and watch for the magic to happen. And as you guys can see already, it's already starting to bleed the colors out, like it's mixing here, the red and the purple. And there are very definitive blocks of the colors, so hopefully they'll keep spreading and we'll get to see how pretty it turns out. I say one really silly part we can notice, look, one of the S's from the Skittles came, 2 of the S's came off, and you can just see a little S floating in the water. That's kind of cool. That's magic. But if you see the yellow and orange and purple are kind of bleeding, yellow and green. Now, I don't know about you guys, but seeing these 2 green Skittles and a little bit of red, it looks like a frog to me. But I'm just being silly. I think it's interesting to see too, which colors do you guys think were the boldest or which ones were done the quickest? Like if we see, you don't see too much of this yellow anymore, it must have mixed in.
For activity number 2, I'm going to show you how to make mess-free painting in a bag. And it is number 2 on our handout. And it's very simple to do. All you're going to need are the following: a Ziploc bag, a piece of paper that you can put in the bag. This is cardstock. You can try it with other paper, like computer paper, but it might rip a little easier, so you might want to just stick with cardstock. Paints of your choosing, and then we have little containers. If you're going to pick up one of our kits, they'll have some paint already in them. So step 1 of this activity, you're going to take your Ziploc bag and your piece of paper, and you're going to put it into the Ziploc bag. You can either do it vertically or horizontally, but the main thing is you're going to want to make sure that you're going to be able to seal it up okay. So once we have the paper in the bag, then we're going to choose our paints, and we can put a little bit of paint into the baggie on top of the paper, all over the place. You can really put it wherever you want. And I would recommend using at least 2 paints for this activity, but you can also use as many as you would like. And some of these might come out a little slower. There we go. So I decided I wanted to do yellow, white, and blue. And if you have your own paints at home that you would like to use, you can use those, and you do not have to put them into a little cup like this. You can just use the actual container it comes in and pour it directly from the container onto your piece of paper. So mine's gonna start out looking like this. Again, I'm going to seal it up. This is the most important part because you definitely don't want to get any paint seeping out. And once you know it's nice and tight, this is the fun part. So now once it's sealed, and again, make sure that you get all the air out of the bag, you're gonna just take your finger and you're gonna just start mixing the paint around. And there's really no exact way you have to do this. I'm just kind of going in with my finger and spreading it out where I want to see the colors mix. And you can already see the blue and the yellow are mixing together to make this really cool looking green. The white is not doing as much over here. So what I might actually do, and again, you want to make sure when you open this up to do it carefully, but I'm actually going to open mine up just for a moment, and I'm going to add a little bit of white on this side of the page, so that way it can mix with more of the blue. And again, getting all of the air out. There we go. And again, taking your finger and mixing it around. I didn't add as much paint to my paper, but that's okay. You can always go back in. Otherwise, add more paint at the beginning. And you don't have to cover the entire paper if you don't want to. I'm liking how mine's turning out though. And once this is dry, you can use these papers for a lot of different things. If you maybe want to make a card, this is a really cool look for a card. If you want to use it and write on it like a journal entry, you can do that. Maybe put a favorite quote over the paper once it's dry. Or you can just leave it as is and hang it up. A second way of doing this project is by applying the paint onto the paper first and then putting it in the Ziploc bag. So now I have some red liquid tempera paint that I'm going to put in a few different places. I have some white. And I have some blue. I'm going to open my Ziploc baggie. This is part, be a little careful. You're going to slide it in. And just like before, make sure you can close the bag tightly. I'm already getting a little bit of paint coming out. So another way you can do this, once you get all the air out of the baggie, you can reinforce it with some tape along the opening. So now that it's in, once again, you're gonna take your hand, take a finger, and mix. This is the part where you can get creative. Mix it up wherever you want. You can see all the colors are starting to blend together. You can also experiment with what materials you use to push around the paint. I used my finger and I used my hand, but you could also try using a spoon, a straw, a stick. Play around and experiment with other ways of creating textures and cool designs with your artwork. The last thing you're going to do is once you're finished with your design, you're going to take the paper while it's still wet out of the bag. This is the part where you're going to want to be careful because you also don't want to pull too hard in case the paper will rip. But you do want to get it out so it can dry nicely on a plate or newspaper, anywhere where you're okay with putting your artwork. And I made 2 of them, so I'm gonna open both of them up. And depending on how much paint you put into your bag, it might take a few hours to dry, maybe a little longer, maybe a little shorter. So you come up with some really cool designs.
Hi everybody, it's Miss Mary again. I'm here to show you our Magic Milk activity, which is our bonus activity for this month's Mid-Kid Makers. The instructions and list of ingredients that you would need for this activity, if you choose to do so, are going to be found on the back side of your instruction sheet. So they're going to be right here. So for this activity, we will need the following. The first thing you will need is a plate or shallow dish. You will also need some milk, some dish soap, which I put in a little container here, some Q-tips, and some food coloring. So the first step for this activity is we are going to take our shallow dish and our milk, and we are going to pour the milk in until it just kind of covers it. We want a nice layer. So we don't want to see the bottom of the bowl or plate, whichever you choose to use. Our second step is going to be one of the fun parts. You're going to take our food coloring and you are going to make little drops just all over the surface of the milk like so. You can try to make a certain picture or pattern, whatever you would like, but I've got lots of colors, so I'm going to use a lot of color in this. I put some pink and some purple. I think we're going to do some blue. And you don't have to use a lot of colors if you don't want to. Also, it would depend on what we have at home or what our grown-up says, because we don't want to use all of our food coloring up. But let's see. I think since I have it, I'll add one more color. I'll add some green. Just a couple little drops here and there. All right. So our last step is going to be where the magic in the magic milk happens. We're going to take one of our Q-tips and our little container of dish soap, and you are going to dip the Q-tip in to the dish soap so it's covered, just like this. Then here's the fun part. We're going to pick one of our colors to start with, and we're going to plunk it in, and you can kind of move it around and see how when we put the dish soap in, it causes all these colors to spread out. That actually, I think, looks really pretty. And if you want, you can take another Q-tip, you can freshen it up. I've got one ready with extra dish soap, so I'm gonna add some fresh dish soap. I love how it kind of makes it look like it's almost like a supernova or like an explosion of color. I think that's really cool. And there you have it. So this is our magic milk. If you want to try a different version of this experiment, it might be fun to try it making, like I said, a picture with your food coloring dots, or you could make a pattern and see what happens then. But whatever you choose, I think they'll all turn out really awesome.